Next, we're going to hear from Jake Leffler with Hope Awakens.
Okay. I wake up on July 31st, 2007, for the second time that day. The sound of hurried voices and beeping of varying cadences swirl around me. The taste of IV fluid is in my mouth, and a new type of pain in my body. At 21 years old, I have the misconception that I am invincible. Every injury or ailment I bounced back from. Even the rigors of early Marine Corps life never seemed to touch me. There was no way some basic hernias were going to be any different. I am begrudgingly picked up by a gunnery sergeant and get a taste of the indifference and casual cruelty that defines what I saw in the Marine Corps. For weeks prior, this same man had regaled me with horror stories of hernia surgeries gone wrong, the number of people who never woke up from anesthesia or just woke up different. And it doesn't matter that I have no other option otherwise. The flight surgeon would consider me down, unable to fly, until the problem was fixed. And if I'm no use flying, there's no telling where I'll land. God forbid I end up walking around the desert with a gun, or worse yet, at the fuel farm. When I wake up on April 19th, 2023 for the second time, the lights brighter, the same taste of whatever is in IV fluid is in my mouth. The general din of a hospital swirls around me as two thoughts come to my mind. First, how did it go? Second, well, this pain is different. I learned from Dr. Chin that it went very well. I was able to recess all the mesh, correct all the damaged tissue, even unknot the spermatic cord and vas deferens that had fused together. And that different pain, the pain from having a mistake corrected inside of me, a pain that, although strong, already felt better than what I had experienced for the past 16 years, was the start of healing. Laying alone in a recovery room at the UCLA hospital, mind mostly cleared, I find myself in an unfamiliar emotional state. I've long before given up any hope of living a life free from pain. For 16 years, it rages unabated through a specific part of my body. Snakes of barbed wire coiling themselves up through my groin, shredding my insides with every movement. The result of mesh patches failing, twisting around in my inguinal canal, tearing the flesh, and creating adhesions and lesions as the years went by. This pain leads to days, weeks of vomiting, blacking out, being unable to walk upright or sit for any period of time. And for roughly 16 years, I had no hope of escaping it. Now a new feeling was surging through my body. It's so raw, I don't recognize it. Maybe UCLA just has something in their air that the VA doesn't. As soon as I figure out this feeling is hope, I start wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. For as long as I've been in this pain, and it's been a part of me, I've been let down, misdiagnosed, or treated with distrust and disgust. Yet here I was in a hospital bed being cared for, not begrudgingly looked to, but just treated like a human in need of physical recovery. This is all in stark contrast to my prior treatment with the military and VA healthcare. Whether I was being told, I think you've just got some unresolved childhood sexual trauma by a random psychologist during an involuntary stay in a psych ward, or just the constant terms like psychosomatic, neuropathy, PTSD-induced anxiety, I was so used to being talked over and dismissed that I thought it was the norm. And those who listened often became just as frustrated with the healthcare system and their own limitations on helping find relief. And a very rare kind of human would at times grieve with me, which felt like the most connected I'd be to a healthcare provider. However, the following day I spent in the recovery unit, I begin to understand this feeling of hope. It drives me to periodically ask the nurses to help me walk around the halls. It's exhilarating. Despite being a tad stiff and painful, the new pain overwhelmingly feels healable. And that same day, in my excitement, I create myself an Instagram page. The first, not exclusively for posting pictures of my cat, but for connecting to the world I haven't been a part of for so long. I was ready to take part in all the things I'd been missing out on for 16 years. And what I had missed out on by being in constant pain felt like everything. Relationships, friendships, work, school, concerts, running, climbing, playing music, seeking out a career, finding what brought me joy and fulfillment. Pain places me at a chasm, and sometimes it feels like I were on the edge of it, sometimes as deep in it as anything alive. And sometimes it drove me to try to go deeper in that darkness than I knew anything alive could be. So the first time I tried killing myself, it's with 3 months worth of various prescriptions, as I suspect I would try to stop myself any other way. So even when the internet tells me the pills I have aren't going to kill me, it seems that maybe they'll strip away that last pesky will to fight. And it mainly creates one hell of a bad month. It won't be the last time I feel it'd be better to die. Eventually, all the coping mechanisms, therapy, positive mental attitude, or whatever I could throw myself at, run out. And I have to simply exist for the sake of surviving. Fighting myself turns out to be exhausting and easier to try to hide away from everything. It destroys relationships, and I find it easier to maintain a detached way of life. So this hope was electric to me. Days pass, the pain from the surgery subsides, my walks around the neighborhood become longer, and all my emotions become much stronger. I first noticed this being happy to wake up, happy to make it around the block. There's more energy than before, and while the healing brings hope and joy, I also discover a new wellspring of anger, rage, and sorrow. The farther I start walking, the more I start noticing the cars blocking the sidewalk, the intersections where the curb just drops into the street without a gradient, the vast number of drivers impatiently running stop signs. I was always tired before, with a sense that the worst was already pretty much happening to me. It seemed now, with the pain gone and more energy to think and observe, I was increasingly pretty pissed off about the past 16 years and wanted to do something about it. I want nothing more than to flip these cars over off the sidewalk, force the mayor to personally fix every intersection, total every car running a stop sign. I seek legal action, contact my member of Congress. Some sort of accountability must be had. The subsequent failing to achieve anything in these regards increases the frustration. Months after the surgery, I need something more to occupy all these feelings. And in considering attending college for the first time, I remember all that I had learned, not just by being in prolonged pain, but the therapy and words of advice from my chronic injury sufferers. To take account of my feelings, place them and myself physically in the moment. I may always push a little bit too hard or stretch myself a little bit too far, but I can be mindful of that and allow myself the patience to go slow if it means going farther in the long run. So I focus on getting myself healthy, trying to figure out how to fit back into society. And it takes some time, longer than I had thought. A year later, I returned to education. At first unsure what I want to pursue, convinced I have a duty to go into the medical field to make sure what happened to me and others I saw stopped happening. Despite having no real desire or aptitude, I feel a similar pull, similar to the desire I had to join the Marine Corps to save as many Iraqi children as I could. When I admitted this to a drill instructor when asked why I had enlisted, I was immediately reprimanded. The prevailing acceptable belief was to turn the entire place into a parking lot. And the numerous racial epithets that were so freely uttered then exemplified the American military view on anything out of the norm or designated their enemy. So thinking of this decision, what it didn't accomplish, the pain and hurt it brought into the world and to myself, I considered an alternative. What I had given up after high school to enlist. What I wanted to do and thought it selfish to pursue. To act. I recall this about a month before starting school. Switch my declared major and start taking several drama classes. My first acting class reignites that drive to express myself, even make myself vulnerable through different means. I start to remember loving performing, memorizing lines, the way a show becomes familiar and exciting at the same time, the rush of doing what you had practiced together for people seeing it for the first time. So when I found out the auditions for the school play were happening in a matter of days, and that I would have to take on much more classwork to be a part of the theater company, the choice was easy. It was time. The work has been less than easy, yet fulfilling, full of both new and old frustrations, confusion, and at times dejection. Sometimes being nearly 40 in community college feels a bit ridiculous. But then I get the chance to use some of my experiences in a part or a line, or recall a time when I was instructed with more fear and anger than with an open mind and patience. I begin learning that this can help people feel, even heal, from watching a performance given so truly it reflects the life of someone watching. I have the absolute blessing to see someone connect on the stage. Have that connection spark conversation or emotions that the audience nearly forgot. And now I wake up every day grateful, sometimes slowly, some days sore, yet hopeful I can continue to have the opportunity to help someone create what has been in their mind and put it into the world, and not to hurt, to say, here we are. This is us, humanity.
Put your hands together for Jake, and then